So, to be completely honest, I hate these videos. I feel super awkward in them, but we're just gonna go with it and see how this goes. But I'm just gonna go through the questions and kind of go through my answer as quickly as possible. But the first question said, what ethical principles apply to this discussion? What moral or ethical limits should be put on genetic testing and interventions? Honestly, probably all the principles can be applied at one point or another, but there are a few that kind of stuck out to me more than the others. I believe that when it comes to topics such as genetic testing and interventions, we need to be completely honest with our patients. So honesty was the first one that I saw. We need to make sure that they are aware of all the facts and everything when they're going into, say, the genetic alterations or the testing or whatever. Make sure we're being honest about it, not like sugarcoating it or, kind of telling what they would want to hear, but telling both sides. I also think respect is a huge principle, not just in, obviously we want to respect the life of the baby and try to preserve the baby as much as possible, kind of tell them, the ups and downs, like the pros and cons of abortion and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's not our decision. I think we still need to have respect for the parents, even though we may not agree with what they may choose. I also think we need to show beneficence. This is a new word for me. Towards our patients. This kind of goes along with the whole honesty thing. But we need to make sure that they're aware of the consequences of what may take place if they choose interventions such as genetic alterations or abortion. Because we're not perfect, we're man. Anything can go wrong. I think they need to be aware of that. I'm sure there are other principles, but those are just the ones that were most obvious and stood out the most to me. I don't feel like there's anything necessarily wrong ethically or morally with genetic testing. Honestly, there's probably a lot of benefits to having these tests done. I know, different diseases and disorders may run heavily in families, and having this testing done may just kind of give them a heads up, hey, your child may have this too, or whatever. I personally wouldn't have it done, not because I have anything against it. I just simply don't see the purpose. If something is going to be wrong with my child, getting a test done is not going to change the outcome. Like, something's still going to be wrong with my child. And I'm pro-life. I'm not going to abort my baby if something's wrong with him. So I understand, like, some people kind of just want to be mentally prepared if something is wrong. Personally, I feel like that's kind of putting yourself through the anxiety twice. I personally don't want to spend half my pregnancy or whatever worried about what's wrong with my child. But all that being said, I don't think that there's necessarily any limits that need to be put on genetic testing. Intervention, on the other hand, is another story. I'll be honest, I'm still trying to decide how I feel about it. If we're talking about just doing away with a problem, like that kind of intervention, I'm completely against abortion. Abortion is murder, and there's never a valid excuse for killing something that God created. Every soul is precious and created for a purpose, and who are we to decide if they should live to fulfill that purpose or not? Another aspect of intervention, at least from I saw from the video, was genetic alterations. Basically, from what I understood, they said they could fix these defects. Eventually, the way they talk, they hadn't fully gotten to that yet, but with science, growing and expanding and everything, the plan is to be able to fix genetic defects in a child before it's born. I have a lot of mixed feelings on this because personally, I don't know if it's biblically, morally, or ethically okay. I'm not completely convinced on it. I was talking to my brother about it, and he said, he made the statement, if you can save a child from having a physical problem in the future, why wouldn't you? And I understand what he's saying, but I cannot say that I ever think it is smart to tamper with God's creation. I don't know. I just really think that sometimes God allows bad things to happen in order to teach us things and to make us stronger. I don't really feel it's our right to make calls like that on whether God's going to use that or not. God uses everything for his glory. Another risk is that in man's feeble efforts, something will go wrong eventually with alterations. and it's very possible that it could cause more problems to the child than it would have without the alterations. All that to say, I believe genetic testing is morally and ethically okay without having any limits put on them. However, if we're going to have interventions, I believe that abortion should be out of the question, and genetic alterations should be limited to simple procedures that have very, very little risk. I personally I would stay away from it personally. The next question is, should genetic engineering be legal, and should parents be allowed to design their children? There's literally no way for me to answer this question on neutral, like, scientific ground. I'm a Christian, and the topics that we learned about in this video and reading for this discussion very much disagree with the Bible. In answer to the first question, no, I don't believe that genetic engineering should be legal, because our bodies do not belong to us, and neither do the bodies of others belong to us. 1 Corinthians 6:19 says, "Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own." We are not our own, and we have no right to take or alter our lives or anyone else's. Parents should also not be allowed to design their children. God planned the lives of each and every baby long before they were even thought of. He knew what their health and physical condition would be, and he had a plan on how he was going to use it. I've heard countless people ask the question, but why would God let a child be born with a disease or disorder? And my answer to this question is, first of all, it's a sin-filled world, and it's part of the curse. And although God can control, this curse, sometimes he allows stuff like that to happen to teach us something or to make us stronger. If you take pottery, for example, when you make a bowl or a mug or something, you typically put it under fire and harden it. Sometimes God puts situations in our lives to put us through the fire and to make us stronger. When a baby is born with a special condition, this not only makes the baby possibly stronger as a person in the future, but also the parents. When a parent has to adjust to a disorder or disease or something like that, raising this child may be difficult and different from other parents raising their kids, but in the end, it's making them mentally stronger and more patient. And if the parent is a Christian, it can also strengthen their faith in God. The next question says, what role would an organization's mission statement play in choosing whether or not to engage in genetic interventions? A mission statement is that statement which kind of sets the stage for everything that the organization stands for, and kind of tells, what they don't stand for. As short as a statement is, the organization would somehow need to provide a brief sentence or phrase or something stating their stance and their decision on genetic interventions up front, so that, patients or whatever coming to this organization would know where they stand on it, what help they can, and what procedures they can't get, and everything like that from this place. This is the last question. What differences might exist between a religious-based institution and a research-based healthcare organization? Can't read. When comparing a religious-based institution and a research-based healthcare organization, there are bound to be multiple big differences. It's similar to comparing a public school and a Christian school. The curriculum, the teachers, the atmosphere, all of that's going to be completely different between the two. Yes, maybe some of the basic facts will still be there. Math is still math, history is still history. Science, you're going to have some iffy stuff there, and just the whole tone and atmosphere of how it's taught is going to be different. The teachers are going to be different. The teachers are going to be more conservative, more liberal, just depending which one. Well, the same way is for a research-based and a religious-based institution. The religious-based institution is going to make their decisions and base their practices off of biblical laws and principles, and make their decisions probably more carefully, sometimes more conservatively, than a research-based facility. A research-based facility is going to base their decisions and practices more off of science and what is more efficient and convenient for the patient or for the doctor. That is all I have. So hopefully this post, but yeah, good luck in the rest of the class, guys.